Hi, Claudia here from Create with Claudia. Today we're working on a Halloween table runner, and it's a really fun project. It's really festive, and it's really easy to make. It's made of 2.5-inch squares and some half-square triangles, and it's all scraps, so it's a great scrap busting project. And those, of course, if you've followed me, those are my favorite kind of projects. So let me show it to you really quickly. It's really cute. It has kitty cats on it, and flying geese are actually triangles within the orange, and you can make it in any color combination you want to make. It's just a fun project for Halloween. So I hope you give it a try with me. I'd love it if you'd hit the subscribe button. I always love new subscribers. Thank you so much. And I'm on social media at Create with Claudia. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and every once in a while I'll do a TikTok video just for fun. It's just a little bit of harmless fun. So you can check that out as well. And this pattern is free. It's on my website, www.createwithclaudia.com. There's a PDF file as well as a step-by-step photo tutorial which will help you out when you're making this. So thank you so much for watching and enjoy the video. So for this Halloween table runner, you're going to need a few fabrics, of course, and I'm going to give you that rundown. And this is, I love scrappy quilts, table runners, etc. I just love a scrappy look. I'm going to give you the full measurements in case you just want to do it in 3 colors, maybe a white for the background, orange for the for the center part, and then the black cats. But if you want to use scrappy, go right ahead. But the measurements I'm giving you are for if you're using all one color. But it also gives you an idea if you want to collect a lot of scraps to use for this. It gives you an idea of how much fabric you're going to need. So again, the table runner itself, when finished, measures about 28 by 42. So if you want black cats, or for the cats, I should say, whatever color you want, you're going to need the following. And in this case, my cats are black cats. So you're going to need about 3/4 of a yard for all of the cats. And these are generous amounts. I like to give generous amounts because sometimes I make cutting mistakes, and I've had it in the past. I was burned where I didn't cut enough and I didn't have enough fabric, and I'm sorry, I cut it wrong and I didn't have enough fabric, and it ruined the whole project for me. But anyway, so for the cats, you're going to need about 3/4 of a yard. For the background, which in my case is that white with the gray polka dots and even a little bit of bling. I love this fabric. I found this at my local quilt shop. It has gray polka dots and then a couple of silver ones too. So I just think that jazzes it up. But for the background, you're going to need about 7/8 of a yard. And again, that's generous, but that's for the background. And lastly, for those triangles in the center, they look like flying geese, but they're actually half square triangles. And in my case, they're orange. So for the orange fabric, you're going to need about a fat quarter's worth. So if you just want to use one color of orange, you can just get 1 fat quarter. That's up to you. Okay, and now for the cutting. So for the cats, and in my case they're the black cats, you're going to need the following. You're going to cut 2.5-inch squares, and each cat takes 10 squares that are cut 2.5 inches, and then 2 squares cut 3 1/4, and that's for the ears and the chin. It's for the half square triangle. So again, for each cat, you're going to need 2 of the 3 1/4 squares and 10 of the 2.5-inch squares. And that totals for all 8 cats, because there are 8 cats in all, 16 of the 3 1/4-inch squares, and then 80 of the 2.5-inch squares. And that'll get you all 8 cats. Okay, so that's for the cat fabric. So for the background fabric, you're going to need the following cuts, and you're going to need a little bit more. For white squares that are cut 2.5 inches, you're going to need 146 of them. Yes, that's a lot. 146 that are cut 2.5 inches. And then of the larger 3 1/4-inch squares that are for the half square triangles, you're going to need 34 of them. So 34 of the 3 1/4 and 146 of the 2.5-inch. Last but not least is the orange for that center triangle look. And this is easy. For this, you need 18 3 1/4-inch squares. Okay, and those will make half square triangles as well. So 18 of those, cut 3 1/4. So that's all you need for this. It is a lot of half square triangles. I'll tell you that when I'm going to show you how to make the half square triangle. And it is a lot of cutting, but again, I love that scrappy look, and I think it looks really, really good with this table runner. It just adds that charm and whimsy to it. But I'm going to show you how to make real quickly a half square triangle, and then we're going to lay this out and I'll show you how to make the whole quilt. So what you need for this is you're going to need to pair up your backgrounds with your color fabric, and you're going to need some of the black and some of the orange to make that. So go ahead and take one of your background squares and then one of your squares of orange or black, whichever one. You do make, now I will say this, you make a lot of half square triangles with this pattern, but as that's my favorite sort of unit of a quilt block, I don't mind. Some people do mind it, but that's sort of a good thing. Put on your favorite playlist and just make all those half square triangles. But anyway, so on the lighter fabric you decide to use, you're going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner with a pencil. It's going to slip a little bit. Let's see. Okay, hopefully you can see that. There's my diagonal line. And then I'm going to take the orange piece or the black piece, whatever color, and you're going to match these up right sides together. And this is batik, so sometimes that's a little tricky with batik. So anyway, you're going to match those up right sides together. And you are going to sew down each side of that drawn line, and you're going to sew about 1/4 inch on each side. And I will go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how that looks and then show you how we finish up the half square triangle. Okay, so now you can see where I've sewn down each side, 1/4 inch on each side of that drawn line. And the next thing to make this half square triangle is you're going to cut it in half. So you're going to take you're going to cut in half on that drawn line, not on the sewn line. So you're going to line up your ruler, get your rotary cutter, and cut in half. All right, and there you go. You're going to fold that open, and I'm going to press these and be right back because we need to trim these down to the right size. We trim them down to 2.5 inches. All right, so they are pressed open. I pressed to the dark in this case. And then what we're going to do is trim it down to 2.5 inches. And I use my handy dandy, I love this ruler. It has a diagonal line drawn down the middle. And I line that up with this diagonal line. And then it has measurements here, and I can just find that 2.5 inch point. And what I do though, before I find that point, is I line up this diagonal line and then I even off one side, square it off. That way I have a good starting point, so I get that real accurate half square triangle measurement. Trim those off. There's my nice sharp point, and that's going to be where I start the measurement from. So I find my 2.5 inch point here, and I line up that diagonal line with the diagonal line on my block or on my unit on the fabric, and then square that up, and then I cut. And that's all there is to it. It's really easy to do, and you can just, I would do them a lot in a row, and I just, like I said, I put on my favorite playlist and I just start making half square triangles. So when you are done making all of the half square triangles, you're going to end up with some orange ones and some black ones. Let's move this out of the way. For the orange ones, you should end up with 36 of them. That's how many you're going to need for that center row of the orange half square triangles. And then for each cat, you're going to need, you're going to end up with 32 of them. You need 4 per cat, 4 half square triangles per cat. And you'll notice on mine, I kept all of the fabric the same for each cat, but I did use 8 different fabrics for it. So once you have everything cut, all the squares that you need, at this point, everything should measure 2.5 inches. You should have your background squares, your half square triangles. You are ready to lay this out, and unfortunately my surface is not long enough, so I'm going to go over to the floor and lay it down, and I'll be right back with the camera. You can see how it looks laid out, and then we're ready to sew it together. Okay, so here you can see it all laid out. At least I hope you can. It's kind of tricky on the floor. These table runners are so long, it's hard to get it all in the camera. But you can see how it's coming together. I just love that this is done with scrappy fabrics. Again, you could do this with all the cats all one color and the orange maybe all one solid orange, and stick to maybe one or a scrappy background. It's completely up to you. Maybe a orange background or black background with white cats would be really pretty too. But no matter what you do, this is how you lay it out. The one thing I will tell you, a couple things actually, excuse me, I highly recommend, and I said it before, going to my website and downloading the pattern. That way you can see the exact layout and all of the measurements and what it looks like, and that helps you guide you, because honestly I'm down on my knees on the floor laying this out, and it helped me. I had the picture with me right next to me. And the other thing is stay organized. This one is so easy when you're sewing the top together, the table runner top together, to twist up a half square triangle, and then you have to go back. So what I do is I will start from the left side or right, whichever. I'll sew the rows together first, and I'll show you that. I'll actually show you a picture of that when I'm done. And then I sew the individual rows together first, and then I would sew the rows together. That way I can just make sure that all of those triangles, all of the ears, all of the flying geese in the middle, that they're all going the right direction, because there's nothing worse than sewing the whole thing together and then looking and realizing that one of your half square triangles is rotated the wrong way. So anyway, I'm going to be right back and I'll show you how the rows are sewn. Okay, so you can see now that I've sewn the rows individually together. The way I keep organized, as you can see at the top of each row, I put a pin with the row number on it. That helps me keep all these organized. I did have to use my seam ripper in two of the orange center triangles. I did mess those up, but that helps me keep organized. So the next thing I'm going to do is sew each row together, and that'll, again, keeping those numbers in there, that way I don't get confused when I'm sewing them together. So once I'm done with that, I'll show you the whole top, and then after that I'll show you the completed table runner. Okay, so I've finished sewing together all the rows and the table runner top is finished now, and I'm going to show it to you. It's pretty big, so hopefully you can see the whole thing. And you can just see how much the scrappy fabric really does nicely with this pattern. It really makes the cats stand out and the flying geese stand out too. It's a lot of fun. So now I'm going to go ahead and quilt it, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quilt in the ditch, meaning I'm going to quilt on each seam and do like a crosshatch pattern like that, and then I'll bind it. I'll probably bind it with orange. I think make a little more orange pop. I think I have a lot of scraps left, so that'll be perfect for that. So when I come back, I'm going to show you the finished table runner. Okay, so I'm back with my Halloween table runner. I really love the way it turned out. It's a fun, scrappy project. Let me show it to you. Hopefully you can see the whole thing. It's a bigger table runner. It's 28 by 42. So it is for a bigger table, like table topper almost, maybe you could call it that. You could almost, well actually, not almost, you could definitely hang this on the wall. I think it'd be really cute for Halloween. It's just a great little piece, and I'm really happy with it and the way it turned out. So I hope you give it a try. Remember, this pattern is available on my website. It's a free pattern, and there's a downloadable PDF along with a tutorial that shows the step-by-step photos of how I made it. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I always love new subscribers. Thank you so much. And lastly, I am on social media at Create with Claudia, where you can find all of my projects and all sorts of things that I post. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.